freezing out here. Oof. It's so cold in the deep. Hey, what's up, peeps? I am here today to talk to you guys about Mercury Retrograde in Capricorn in 2016, January 2016, and what it means for everybody. And I'm going to touch a little bit on what it means for every sign. I'll talk about more in depth how it affects everybody individually by sign when I do my January horoscopes. But for now, let's see how it's going to affect everybody. First of all, what is Mercury? Well, Mercury rules communication, it rules short distance travel, it rules the hands, the arms, the lungs, how we speak, how we write. As far as short distance travel, it rules traveling by bicycle, by car. It rules our communication devices that we use, like our phones, our tablet, our computers, our email, mail, like postal mail, delivery services. So when Mercury goes retrograde, what that means is its orbit slows down, and then it stops, and then it starts to do a reverse of its normal orbit. Mercury also rules the logical mind of humans, okay? The practical logical mind, like decision making and things like that. If it's spinning backwards as far as Mercury's orbit, and Mercury rules those things, like how we think, our thinking process, then yeah, people's thinking is gonna go a little bit backwards. They're not going to be as focused. They're not going to be able to process information as quickly and accurately as possible. Maybe quickly still, yes, but accurately, now Mercury not as retrograde much, not so isn't much. All bad, okay? But there are some really, really dumb things that can happen during this time. Like some of the worst and dumbest car accidents happen. I do have to warn you about that. Like the head-on collisions, the wrong way drivers, the drivers just completely not paying attention. Those do happen more often during a Mercury retrograde because people's focus is totally off. So everybody should be extra careful driving during this time. And all Mercury retrograde is trying to do is remind you to slow down. Just be very careful when you drive and pay attention. Some other things that can happen that are like miscommunication, like communication failures, are you try to send someone a message, an email, an IM, a text, whatever, and it ends up not going through, or it ends up stuck in the draft folder, stuck in the outbox. I swear I sent it, but where did it go? Hey, I never got that message. You're a liar. What? What are you talking about? I did send it. Okay, hold on a sec. Let me check really quick here. Let me check. Oh my God, it's still in the draft folder. Sometimes trying to communicate with people during a Mercury retrograde can be like, do you understand the words that's coming out of my mouth? This is what always happens to me during Mercury retrograde. Whenever I type, I type pretty fast on my phone. And whenever I type too fast, I make so much more typos, and I usually catch them. I'm very meticulous when it comes to spelling and grammar, but I don't always catch all my errors, and I end up looking like totally illiterate with whatever I was writing or typing. It's like I'm buckwheat or somebody. That's what happens during Mercury retrograde. But all it means is you just need to slow down. You need to slow down. You need to thoroughly go through the processes. Unfortunately, the people that get it the worst during Mercury retrograde as far as communication and technological issues are the people who are born under the signs that are ruled by Mercury, which is Gemini and Virgo. Oh man, I feel bad for you guys. I have a Gemini moon that is close to me, and I swear whenever Mercury goes retrograde, it's like he speaks a totally different language. There's so many words missing, and I'm like, what? Who? I'm sorry, I don't understand. And it's so frustrating. But the good thing to know is that Mercury retrograde doesn't last forever. It lasts about a month, about 2 months, including the shadow period. It happens 3 times a year, but as with all transits that happen, just remember, this too shall pass, especially with the faster moving planets like Mercury. Just remember, this is only a short period of time. You just gotta fight through that wind, and you'll be back to normal in no time. So when it's in the sign of Capricorn, the energy of Capricorn is all about hard work and persistence, okay? It's all about the tried and true, the traditional, and getting things done and getting things done thoroughly. No half-stepping. Capricorn does not tolerate half-stepping, doing a half-assed job of things. It doesn't tolerate things like that. So when Mercury is there, what our thinking process is like, it's going to be focused on those areas like work, career. Capricorn is also about structure and discipline. But when Mercury is there, yeah, we're going to be thinking about those things. We're going to be talking about those things. But when it goes retrograde, we're not going to be so sharp when it comes to them. It doesn't mean it makes everything impossible, okay? Because all it does is just make it 3 times harder. It makes it 3 times harder because we need to go over the details more often than we usually would. Imagine this. I'm a Pisces moon, so I'm going to break things down like in an imaginative way. Imagine a windstorm, because Mercury is air, right? It rules the air sign of Gemini, okay? Imagine a windstorm and you're walking in it and you're trying so hard to walk through this windstorm or run through this windstorm. Things are flying by you, they're whizzing right by, and you're like, what was that? What was that? What was that? I couldn't catch it. You couldn't physically grab things. You don't know what it was that flew by. And you can still walk, you can still run, but it is 3 times harder to do so. That's what Mercury retrograde is. Mercury retrograde is nothing to be completely afraid of. Oh my God, it's Mercury retrograde. Oh, the world is gonna end, honey boo boo. Oh my God, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your dog, hide the cat. Everything is just gonna go haywire and nothing's gonna go right ever. That's not the case. If there's an issue that comes up, it's probably something that you need to go over the details with anyway. That's what Mercury retrograde is showing you. So how this is going to affect all of us, all the signs. I'll just break it down a little bit. Okay, for Aries, this Mercury retrograde is going to be in your 10th house. The 10th house is the house of your social status, the way the world sees you. It's also career. So you can definitely be revising things that have to do with that area, like going over, am I in the right career? Am I really where I want to be in the world? Am I really being seen the way I want to be seen in the world? Am I really getting what I deserve in this career that I'm in? So you're going to be going over that, and once the retrograde motion stops and Mercury goes forward again, then that is the best time to make a final decision. I would not make a decision during the middle of the retrograde. Maybe, of course, go over the details and get them in order. But once it's retrograde again, then take action. And I know that's hard for Aries to do. You guys are very action oriented. You just do things like that, leap before you look. But I'm telling you, your best decision can be made once Mercury goes forward. So keep that in mind. Taurus, Mercury retrograde is going to be in your 9th house. The 9th house is a house of travel, like long distance travel. It's a house of higher education, like college and secondary education. It's also the house of like publishing and writing. So if you're publishing something like a website or a book, I would go over things carefully over and over again and make sure you have absolutely no typos, because this can happen more during this time if you're not careful. Also, I know a lot of people start their a new semester of college in January. So you might find that your classes, there could be issues with your classes. Maybe your college didn't get your classes right, your schedule. Maybe you end up having to change a class because maybe the class was too full or the teacher left, or there's a lot of different possibilities that can happen, but something along those areas can happen. And also, since it rules long distance travel plans can be interrupted, or they might just have to be reviewed again before you finalize them. And make sure that you're not going to be stuck in the middle of Timbuktu out there somewhere, because your travel plans got messed up. Go over things thoroughly and hey, you'll be all right. For Cancer, this is going to be in your 7th house, your 7th house of relationships with other people one-on-one. It can be romantic or it can be not romantic. It can be business partnerships. It can be just one-to-one relating with other human beings, okay? And what this can do is definitely bring back relationship partners from the past as well for you. You can be thinking about them. They could be thinking about you. You'll have somebody randomly pop up. It can also be friends too. You can also have a random old friend that you haven't heard from in years pop up in your world again and be like, hey, remember me? What's going on? But I gotta warn you, I'm not gonna say don't get into a relationship at all. That's your business. okay? But it's best to not start something new when it comes to a business partnership or a relationship, like a serious relationship with somebody during a Mercury retrograde. Because remember, your thinking process is a little backwards. It's not going to be forward. So when Mercury moves forward again after the retrograde is over, then it's possible that you can change your mind, or they can change their mind, and you'll be like, what happened? I thought we had something here. So I would just be mindful of that, and just, you know, try to detach yourself mentally from the situation, keep a cool head, and just know that there are two sides to things. There's always other choices. Once the retrograde is over, then make a decision. For Leo, this is going to be in your 6th house. Your 6th house is the house of daily routines and work, your work environment. It's also the house of your health. That falls into the daily routine, like how you take care of yourself every day, what you do to get up in the morning, and like what time do you get up? What time do you usually shower? What do you usually incorporate in your routine? Something can change within that. You can decide, you know what, I want to start getting up earlier now. I don't want to have only like 15 minutes to get ready. I want an extra 30 minutes to get ready now. So take 45 minutes, especially Leos. Leos love to look fly, okay? Leos love to look good and have a good style. So you know what, Leo? Start waking up earlier if you want to have your glam on, you know, instead of looking kind of like, you know, I could put more effort into my looks to go to work. Yeah, you know, just start getting up early. Also, you could change your route to work. You could change the way that you travel to work. There could be like a product that you use, you know, like to take care of yourself. For example, like a moisturizer or something, okay? I'm just throwing that out there. And you decide, you know what? I don't want to use this kind anymore. I want to try a different kind. Gotta warn you though, once the retrograde's over, you might change your mind and be thinking differently and not really be satisfied with it. So just be mindful of that. Try new things, but just know that it may not last as far as you sticking to those regimes and those routines. For Virgo, this is going to be in your 5th house. The 5th house is the house of creativity and of children. Speaking of children, it's the house of your creative projects. It's the house of also romantic, casual romantic dating. Okay, not necessarily like serious relationships, but just people that you meet out, you know, out and about, and hey, you know, let's go on a couple dates just for fun, whatever. It can definitely bring back some old lovers for you too. They could pop up and be like, remember the good times we had, Virgo? Do you want those good times again? Let's hang out. You remember me, don't you? You still have feelings for me, don't you? And you're going to be rethinking your feelings for this person if that happens. Like, really, do I want to go back to that again? I mean, I don't know. They're a little too clingy for me, and I don't play that, so I don't know. Just know that when the retrograde's over, you may change your mind if you decide to hang out with this person again if that happens. So, you know, just be mindful of that. Also, your creative projects can be just a little bit harder to complete during this time. However, just go over the details. Virgo, you're great at the details. So just go over the details again and again and again, and make sure you have all of them included in that project. And I'm sure it'll go smoothly once the retrograde's over. For Libra, this is going to be in your 4th house. The 4th house is the house of home and family. That includes your actual house that you live in, wherever it is that you call home. There can be some issues that actually come up in the physical home. Like, since Mercury does rule like some electrical things, you know, like gadgets and things that you use around the house, there can be some stuff that goes wrong with those, or with your vehicle. Like maybe the garage door doesn't open anymore. You know, that's happened to me during Mercury retrograde in the 4th. Your car alarm key fob doesn't work anymore, or, you know, your blender goes out of control and just freaking flies off of the base and breaks, and you got to buy a new one. There's some things like that that can come up, but just know that those things probably needed to be fixed anyway, so it's not something to cry over. It's nothing permanent. It's just like showing you, hey, I've been needing to be fixed and you didn't pay attention, so I'm just gonna go haywire until you do something about it. So just keep in mind those things can come up. Also, because it rules family and female family members, but just your family in general too. You can also have like old family members you haven't heard from in a long time pop up and be like, hey baby, how are you doing? You want to come over and have some pie with me? So that's that could be a good thing, unless it's somebody like a drunk uncle you don't want to hear from that's like, hey, can I borrow $5? Remember, you're my favorite niece, whatnot and whatnot. But that's really up to you what you do with that if that happens. All right, for Scorpios, this is in your third house. The third house is a very similar energy to Mercury. The third house of your chart does rule the logical mind like Mercury does. Scorpios, we're going to have a little bit harder of a time processing thoughts and things that are Mercury related during this time. The third house rules short distance travel, just like Mercury does. So you can also be one that has the vehicle problems come up. But just know that they are ones that needed to be fixed anyway, and maybe you neglected them, and that's exactly what's happening to me right now as a Scorpio rising, okay? As soon as Mercury went into shadow, vehicle problems came up. You can have electrical problems come up. You can have issues with your phones and your devices, and I mean, everybody can have those, but Scorpios in particular, we can have those issues a little bit more during this time because of the third house energy. So I would just be mindful of those things, and it is going to be a little bit harder for us. We're really going to be fighting through that wind to communicate, you know, to really communicate thoroughly and effectively, and to where people can actually understand us and not say, huh, what were you saying? I know, speak whatever it is you're speaking. So Scorpios, just hang on. It's only short time that this is going to be happening. Once the retrograde's over, we'll be thinking clearly again. We can get our vehicles working again. We'll be all good. For Sagittarius, this is going to be in your second house. The second house is the house of your earned income, like what you earn from working. So your resources like food and water, you know, sustainable resources. It's also your personal possession that you hold near and dear to you and hang on to in your everyday environment. So there can be something that you may need to revise as far as how you spend your money on your resources. Are you being like, I know Sagittarians, I love you guys. I love your sunny personalities and your energy. But Sagittarius is not a sign that is the best when it comes to handling their money and their finances. Because they're ruled by Jupiter, Jupiter sees optimism, and it just sees everything from such a high point of view that it thinks there's always going to be money. There's always going to be tomorrow. There's always going to be resources for us, you know. They look at things in an optimistic way, but unfortunately, especially during retrogrades when you have to revise things, it doesn't always go that way. So you may have to revise, how am I spending my money? Do I have a budget? Am I following it? Am I being responsible with my earned income, or am I just spreading it around, going on vacations, hanging out with my friends, woohoo, let's go to lunch, let's do this, let's do that, going shopping, and then you don't have anything in your savings account to show for how hard you work, you know? So this is a good time to go over those things. Wants versus needs, budgets, all of those things are going to be important during this Mercury retrograde for you, especially because it's in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn doesn't play any games, okay? Especially when it comes to money. Capricorn is one of those signs that are like all about the tried and true and the straight path. You need to walk a straight path when it comes to your money. You cannot go outside of that path, or else, wapow! Saturn is going to smack you, haha. Now for Capricorn, this is in your first house, the house of you. So anything can have to be rethought and revised in your life. The first house rules your life path. It rules your body. You can have some issues come up physically for you that you kind of overlooked or didn't pay close enough attention to, and you didn't go to the doctor, or you didn't find a remedy for whatever it is that was bothering you or ailing you. And then it'll start coming up even more and more and more, poking at you and bugging you like, hey. Mercury is like a bugaboo. They will bug and bug and bug. Hey, until they get your attention, okay? Pay attention to your body. If it's giving you any signals that something needs to change, something needs attention to be repaired, or make sure that you pay attention to that and that you find the right solution and take care of it. Aquarius, this is in your 12th house. The 12th house is a house that is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune energy is like wading out in the ocean endlessly and aimlessly. So if the planet that rules your logical mind is there, it's like it's sunken underwater and it's trying to move. So not only is it spinning backwards, but it's underwater. So it's not going to be thinking clearly. You can be a little bit more sleepy and tired because people who have a lot of Mercury energy, they do go, go, go. Not as much as like Mars. It's not as strong as Mars, but it's like, it is this go, go, go energy. I'm a busybody, go, 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 go. If it's underwater though, it's going to be so much harder to go, go, go. It's going to be harder for your mind to process things logically. You might be less focused and your mind really be going in outer space. So I would say just try not to think too hard about things. I know Aquarians, you guys like to let your minds go way out there and come up with some crazy, interesting things. And you can become more creative during this time because the 12th house is super imaginative and creative. So it is a good time to do things that are 12th house related, you know, like drawing. Oh, some of your best work can come out during this time. However, just be careful with the Mercury retrograde motion. If you try to put it out there could be problems, especially if you're trying to put out some art online or something that you do, you know, something creative online. You can have some technical difficulties that may make it a little bit harder to put it out there on the internet or something like that. Try to get more rest during this time if you can, because the 12th house is a house of rest. It is where the planets go to not just sink underwater, but they go to rest, you know, and regenerate. Because once Mercury goes back into Aquarius, you are going to be such the busybody. Your mind is going to be like, like crazy, like a Gemini. So just try to take it easy during this time, Aquarius. Pisces, this is going to be in your 11th house. The 11th house is the house of friendships, like groups that you belong to of like-minded individuals, organizations that you belong to, if you belong to like a charitable or organization, or just people who are like-minded with the same common interests. And that can very well mean, you know, your friends, your BFFs or whatever. Because it rules those things and it's going backwards and bringing people back, you can definitely have friends. Old friends come back. Old friends will text you, hey, how have you been? I haven't talked to you in like 5 months. You know, hey, sorry I disappeared, but here I am again. How are you? Let's catch up. That can definitely happen to you a little more than other people at this time. People might pop up randomly online too, or, you know, text you or whatever. You can also be revising and rethinking whether or not you want to belong to a certain group or organization, if you do belong to any. Do they really work for me? Do I really belong here? Do we really have the same interests? Do we really have the same thought process? Do they really stand for something that I really stand for? Or did I just join just because, you know, hey, I thought it would be cool to kind of float around and, you know, exchange creative ideas with these people, but do I really belong here? You're going to be rethinking those things during this time. That is our Mercury retrograde in Capricorn for January 2016. I did want to mention Mercury is going to be conjunct Pluto again at 15 degrees around January 23rd. When Mercury is conjunct Pluto, Pluto is like diving deep into things. Mercury is the mind. Pluto is also like very, very serious taboo things, you know, anything that's like Scorpio and 8th house related, if that makes sense to any of you. It's like really deep topics and subjects. So during that time is when a lot of us are going to our psychic abilities, things that are hidden, things that are unknown, we're going to be going there in our minds more during that time. This actually happened earlier in December, and it's going to happen again once Mercury crosses over Pluto again. It's going to dig things up again. We're not going to accept the surface level, especially with it being in Capricorn. Capricorn hates the surface level just as much as Pluto does, Scorpio does, you know. Mercury is usually like skipping above the surface, like la la la, do do do. But it's going to hit Pluto and stop and be like, now hold on a second. Is this really what it seems? What are the details? And I mean the real details. What's the real deal with this? Okay, so that's going to happen around January 23rd when Mercury is getting ready to station direct. It's going to be right there with Pluto, and things are going to get a little serious, but hey, it's a great time to really dig into things and get the right answers. So that's Mercury retrograde in Capricorn. I hope it helps some of you out. Just remember, it's not all scary, it's not all bad. Just go over the details over and over again until you get it right, just like Capricorn wants you to do. All right, till next time. Peace.